So here we have the Nano90. For a few years, LG has split their lineup into 3 series. The OLED series, like the C10 and G10, then the high-end LCDs, which are now called the Nano series, and then their regular LCD TVs. As a result, this Nano90 is kind of an upper mid-range TV, as it sits below their OLED offerings. In this video, we'll put it to the test and see if it's the next TV you should buy. Hi, I'm Daniel from Ratings.com, where we help people find the best products for their needs. Make sure you subscribe to our channel for the latest videos, or check out our website for the full review. In this video, we'll start by looking at the design and inputs of the Nano90, then we'll move on to our test results for the picture quality. We'll also take a look at the motion handling, input lag, and sound. If you'd like to skip straight to our test results, then see the links in the description down below. We bought the 75-inch model to test, but it's also available in a range of sizes, from 55 inches up to 86 inches. We expect these other sizes to have very similar picture quality. As always though, if you buy this TV and your experience doesn't match this review, let us know in the comments down below. The design of this TV is good and pretty typical of most LG LCDs. It has a wide set stand, which requires a large table, unlike the previous model SM9000. This means you can place a soundbar between the legs though. There's a single button for controls under the LG logo at the front of the set. You can use it to turn the TV on or off, change inputs, volume or channels. Moving around to the side of the TV, it has a pretty typical thickness at a bit less than 2 inches. The back is made of a smooth material, which is fine and looks simple. Overall, the build quality of this TV feels only decent. We don't expect anyone to have problems due to the build, but it definitely doesn't feel premium. The inputs are located behind the left-hand side of the TV. They're directed out and down the side, so don't protrude anymore if you choose to mount it. The connections themselves are no surprise, with 4 HDMI ports, 3 USBs, an optical output and a tuner. There's also a composite in port, and the adapter for this is included in the box. Now we'll move on to the picture quality. We'll be comparing to currently available TVs, but competing models may change as new TVs are released throughout the year. For an updated comparison with new models as we buy and test them, see the review page on our website, which is linked down below. First up is contrast ratio. The contrast ratio is the ratio between the brightest white and the darkest black that a TV can produce, and is generally considered one of the most important aspects of picture quality. TVs with a high contrast ratio appear to have more detail in dark scenes, without those details getting lost in the grey. As with most LG LED TVs, the Nano90 uses an IPS panel. While these panels are much better for viewing angles than VA ones, which we'll talk about more later, they tend to be much worse for contrast, giving you poorer overall black levels and uniformity. This TV is about typical of most IPS panels. If you watch TV in the dark, then blacks will appear grey. If you've got some lights in your room, it isn't a problem though. The Nano90 also has local dimming to improve the contrast. Unfortunately, it's a bit disappointing. It does help to raise the contrast a bit on our checkerboard pattern, but in moving content, the zone transitions are quite slow and noticeable, and dark scene details get crushed. Many dark details still look grey too, because of limitations to the IPS panel and the zone size. Now on to grey uniformity. Our grey uniformity test checks for issues with the panel where different pixels are supposed to display the same colour but may not. This can result in distracting areas known as the dirty screen effect, which is noticeable when watching sports or playing games. The grey uniformity on this TV is okay. The edges of the screen are visibly darker, and there's some noticeable dirty screen effect in the center, which could be distracting while watching sports. So now for the viewing angles. Wide viewing angles are important if you watch with a large group of people or have wide seating in a large room, as they allow the image to remain accurate regardless of where you're positioned. This TV is decent and about typical of most IPS type panels. The brightness does drop significantly at an angle, but most people shouldn't have any problem watching sport with a group of friends. If your TV is in a bright room with lots of lighting, then good reflection handling is important to cut the amount of glare you see on the screen during dark scenes. The Nano90 has great reflection handling with a semi-gloss finish. This helps to somewhat diffuse reflections across the screen and reduce their intensity. There may be still some visible reflections in very bright rooms, though overall it should be good enough for most situations. Also important for a bright room is the ability to raise the brightness of the TV to counteract glare. We measured this TV with local dimming set to medium, which is what we recommend for most people. This local dimming setting allows the TV to boost the brightness of smaller areas, like our 10% window test pattern. Unfortunately, we found this doesn't really translate to real scenes, and on our real scene test pattern, we measured less than 300 nits. This is a bit disappointing, but might still be fine for most people due to the great reflection handling we looked at earlier. If you plan to watch HDR content, then the ability to produce brighter regions of the image is important to produce impactful highlight detail. This is one of the most noticeable reasons why some TVs seem to really pop with HDR content while others don't. This TV does support HDR, but it can't really get bright enough with HDR content to really help the highlights pop. Also important for HDR is the ability to take advantage of the wider color spaces that content can be mastered in. This Nano TV is advertised to have nano color, which is what LG uses to indicate their higher-end wide color gamut TVs. As a result, the very good DCI P3 performance is not surprising, at about 90% of the color space. This is very similar to the SM9000 from last year and helps to make vivid colors in HDR content stand out. So now onto the motion handling. There's many aspects to motion performance, so if you want to learn more about motion on TVs, then make sure you check out our video series, which should be linked up here. We'll start with the response time. The response time of a TV is the average time it takes the display to transition from one color to the next. A fast response time results in clearer motion without too much trailing blur. The Nano90 has a great response time, as you can see in our moving logo photo. There is persistence blur, but there's only a short smear on the left-hand side of our logo. This is very good for gamers or watching sports. There's also some flicker, but it's not really visible in this moving logo or in person due to the high frequency. At about 960 Hz, for most people it's not a problem, but it also isn't flicker-free if this is something you're sensitive to. For those who want the clearest image though, when watching sports or playing games, you can also increase the amount of noticeable flicker with a technique known as black frame insertion or BFI. This is possible with the Motion Pro setting, and you can see in another photo of our moving logo that it definitely helps. It's possible to flicker at 60 Hz for 60 Hz content, so fast-paced games are clear. This setting is not for everyone though, due to this introduced flicker. Also important for gamers is a low input lag. A low input lag reduces the delay between an action in-game and when you see it on the screen, allowing for faster reactions and more immersion. The Nano 9 series has an excellent low input lag at about 15 milliseconds for 60 Hz signals. At 120 Hz, it drops significantly lower, down to about 5.5 milliseconds. This is close to the minimum theoretical input lag for 120 Hz, which is great to see. This low input lag can also be enabled automatically when starting a game. Just leave the instant game response setting on the TV on. This is an implementation of the auto low latency mode feature introduced in the HDMI 2.1 specification. Speaking of HDMI 2.1, this TV is advertised to support the high bandwidth HDMI 2.1 signals on 2 of its HDMI ports, numbered 3 and 4. This should allow for using the TV at 4K and 120 Hz, which is great for PC use or for gaming, or maybe a next-gen console. There are no HDMI 2.1 devices for us to test this though, but we'll pin a comment down below when an HDMI 2.1 graphics card is released and we're able to test this feature. This TV is also advertised to support variable refresh rates for tear-free gaming. We were able to confirm support for the HDMI Forum variable refresh rate standard via our Xbox One S, but at the moment, FreeSync doesn't work from any of our graphics cards. This is supposed to come in a future firmware update. Now onto the smart features. Like with all LG smart TVs, the Nano90 uses LG's WebOS smart interface. It has an easy-to-use interface and a wide selection of available apps. Like the Nano85, this TV comes with LG's Magic Remote, which lets you easily scroll through the menus just by pointing the remote at the TV and moving it around to move the cursor on the screen. And lastly, for the sound. You can use the Magic Remote to tune the frequency response to your room, and overall, it produces a decent result. It is of course impacted by the TV's speakers though, which lack thump or rumble in the bass. So if you care about sound, look for a soundbar or another external sound system. So overall, whether the Nano90 is a good choice for you will depend on your use. Do you watch movies in the dark and will be distracted by the low contrast and local dimming? If so, probably look elsewhere for a VA-type panel like the Sony X900H or the Samsung Q80T. If you've got a moderately lit room though and have wide seating, then it could be a good choice, and it does have some nice features for gamers. So that's it. What do you think of the LG Nano90? Have you bought it? Let us know what you think down below. You can also check out all of our measurements on our website. And if you like this video, subscribe to our channel or become an insider on the website for access to our latest test results first. Also, we're currently hiring in our offices in Montreal for various positions, so if you want to help people find the best product for their needs, have a look at the careers page on our website. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.